And you should open up a screen there. Can you guys all see a screen? Anyone?
Arborist Network
Yes.
on behalf of the Black Forest Tree Service.
So today we're going to look at playing with Word and images within Word and what the rules are, what the rules aren't, the bad things to do, the good things to do. And Peter Gray is also going to have a look at a different piece of software for us. Peter doesn't use Word. He almost had me ready to change until I found I couldn't get Grammarly to work on it. And I thought, no, my spelling and grammar is so poor, I definitely need to have some form of editing software second to what Word offers. So Word offers one in it, and then need another one as well. So images are used in a report for what reason? Anyone?
To better inform the reader of what you're talking about and show details that are hard to describe.
Yeah,
the picture's worth 1,000 words.
Yeah. The purpose of a report is to communicate. And so if we're going to do a report, we want to be able to communicate the information in a manner that is the most efficient that we can. And as you say, sometimes images do a lot better job than words. In fact, words are often confusing. So for example, here's an image that shows some tree locations. It may not be perfect, but it gives me more information than if I'm just doing one or two things. So definitely an advantage in having images. So some of the things that you might want to think about is, how do I have images? Do I want them standalone? So in this case, there's an image that's standalone in the text. And to put it in there, all I've done is come along and I'll just find a bit of text to put an image in. So I'm going to insert an image, insert picture, and I'm going to use snippet. If you don't have snippet as a tool, it's unfortunately one of those silly tools that tend to come with PCs that aren't Asperger, so it doesn't work so well with Apple as far as I know. But Snippet's a neat little tool that allows me to just take a snippet. And so I'll take a snippet here of Shane Hall, and there he is. And I've got him, and copy, and I can insert that into my report. Now, the problem with that is it's going to roll over on the next page. There it is, and I don't want it to be rolled over. I want it to be in the text itself. So one of the ways I can do that is go to it, right click on it, and say size and position, or wrap text. So wrap text, which is here, and I want to wrap it tight around it. So it's disappeared. Isn't that interesting? Let's move it up so that we don't have that same problem. So I'll put it here, and now I can wrap the text. And so I can now position this where I want to on the page and allow it to be locked in there. And it works reasonably well. You can see Shane's in there now. That's one way of inserting a photograph. It's just simply to put it in. Another way, by the way, photographs only in the body of the report. Body of the report is everything from the title page to the end of your conclusions. An image only goes in when it's relevant. So here, if I wasn't talking about it in the paragraph above, or here ideally the paragraph beside, then there shouldn't be an image there. Don't put images in just for the sake of it. Put images in because they add communication. Shane's looking at it like, what the hell's happening? He's just adjusting his glasses. So don't go just putting a picture in anywhere. Now, there's a lot of information here that's not necessary as well, so I may want to crop it. And so cropping out stuff that isn't communicating. If I just wanted a little bit more of Shane's head, I could appropriately do that. And I don't really need his name there. We know who he is. Australia's Most Wanted. So again, we can crop to that and adjust its location appropriately. When you're adjusting size, always grab from a corner. The problem is that doesn't make Shane look particularly good. Okay, this does get rid of some weight, but it makes his head look rather narrow. So what we want to do is when we're adjusting an image is grab it from a corner. Peter, is it the same process in
you can do the same thing. It's a slightly different process. There's some shortcuts that you can use, and yeah, it's a slightly different process. My view is that it gives you a little bit more control over what you're doing.
Yeah, look, Word and Images, Word was never meant to be a desktop publishing program, and it's what it's in the end has come to. And so images don't perform as well as people might like in Word. We can tweak a Word image, and we can do that by going to our picture format. And the question is, should I ever adjust an image? And the answer is yes. Anytime you feel like you can adjust an image, there's some rules again. An image should never be adjusted to conceal something that should be revealed, or to show something that probably shouldn't be there. And that's probably the less common, but certainly it's overexposing and underexposing is a pretty important part of working with an image. So if your photograph looked like this, it might be too dark. So we might want to lighten it up to give the information. It's a horrible image, but Shane, sorry about that. We'll pick a better one soon. Let's actually go up to, and we'll delete this one, cut. We'll go up to the image that's here. So what am I trying to communicate? I'm trying to communicate this tree here. Let me make it a bigger screen for you guys too. There's no reason not to. But I'm trying to communicate, whoops, that this tree here is leaning. And it's declining. That's a dead stem there. So if I can improve that, I should where I can. So picture format, is there some way I can improve it? One of the things I can do is improve the sharpness, and that's just makes the contrast a little bit better. Or I can alter the brightness. Now, hundreds of bits of software exist to enable you to be able to do this if you want. Peter, are there anyone sitting there? Do I need to let anyone in? Admit, yes. Hank's there.
You've got control of the meeting. I don't think I'll do it.
Let me give you, how do I do that? Can you remember, Peter?
No.
Make host. Okay, you're now the host. Sorry about that. I should have done that at the beginning. So yeah, here in this situation, a lot of clutter in behind. It's not the best picture. And that's about taking photographs at the right time of the day in the right conditions. A good photograph has good contrast. And so a good contrasting image is one that has lots of background. Sorry, guys, I'm just going to open up a new browser page. I'll go to Google Photos. And so a blue sky background makes for a better image than a white sky background. And you can see that here, for example, where we get blue in the background, we get a lot more information and we can see things a little bit easier. When it's white, they tend to want to overexpose and it makes it a little harder. Same here, I've taken some photographs of some fungi. This is a mycophagous fungi. And the first thing it says is, do you want to fix lighting? So I'm just using Google Images here to do a little bit of tweaking. And so it can, again, adjust the lighting appropriately to get the color to be a better tonality than it should be. And I can choose to save or not save. I'm not going to bother with that. Close out. And I should be able to go to the next one. Yes. I've got this little screen that wants to get in my way. Okay, there we are. That's better. It's down the bottom now. So again, you can tweak your coloring as appropriate. That's a horrible image, so you wouldn't use it. There's the answer on that one. So let me go back to images again. So contrasting images gives you good information. Sometimes you may need to do multiple images. So here, I think it's pretty obvious that we've got a branch that's got some issues. And again, the first thing I get out of Google Images is that the lighting's probably not as good as it should be. So it says that that's slightly better than what it was. You can see how it's given a better contrast, a little bit brighter. So again, that's something I may want to adjust. So pick a good image to start off with, try and shoot multiple shots. Here, I think you get a better idea of how thin that wall is on that stem. It's a pretty neat failure. And by the way, for those of you who have read Maddox TR and it says that it's 0.7 loss, you'll notice here it's again 95% or plus before that limb actually fails. Loss of strength in that limb. So a pretty neat violation of Maddox information. Okay. So back to how to use images in a report. Another way to use images in a report is to add photographs via a table. And in Word, reports work, photographs work a lot better in a table. Okay, so here's a longer report. We had a look at a little bit of this last block round. So here I've got it in a table. The nice thing about a table and using Word is that it keeps everything together. You get no problems with things shifting apart. So if you decide to put an arrow in, that arrow stays where you put it. Peter, I know that again, Apple have got that figured out because they came from a desktop publishing background, not a word processing background. So being able to use a table is good. The next thing is inserting a caption, and you'll see there's already a caption there. And you can put in a caption however you'd like by just simply clicking on the image and saying insert caption, or go up to your picture formatting section at the top again. So what's the rule with captioning? At the bottom, capture them sequentially, however you think is appropriate in the situation. Excuse me for a second, guys. Just dehydrating, that's all. Talk too much. So in documents that are complex, I often will talk about images, figures, photos, and tables. So the more complex the document, the more you may want to split that apart. And in terms of splitting it apart, the way that my mind works on it is, for example, if a client's provided me a whole pile of images, I may call them photos. The ones I take may be called images. The technical name in a more formal report would be figures, but that allows you to have illustrations and photographs. So, and again, you can change what you want to call it. So if I go back to insert caption, you can, if you want, have a new label and you can call it illustration. So you can have illustration 1, figure 1, and so on. And if you use the captioning facility, the auto captioning facility, you can put a table of captions in as well as a table of images, as well as a table of contents. So if you don't like the square around, the frame around it, and that's fine, each of your own. Tables, again, you can go around table properties, and you can actually go in borders and shading, and you can just simply unclick the appropriate sections you want. You'll see it when you're looking at the screen. There it is, it's dotted line, but when the time comes to actually print that, it won't have any of the lines there at all. So you can change things. Tables also enable you to allow multiple images to go in. Let me scan down to a page. On a page, get down there in a second, guys. Okay, so it allows you to have, you know, a certain number or a certain layout. So here, a standard insert that I've got is about how to do tree protection correctly, and I've given them some photographs, what not to do, so that they've got some idea. And that's laid out with 3 images to the page. And I couldn't do that as easily in Word unless I use a table. So the tables give you the ability to put multiple images in one go. Again, it just allows in that communication process. And you'll see here, I've got images separately in the usage. So again, you can keep on using images. And we want to communicate. So the things, here's some route exploration, the things that you want to communicate: diameter. So there's a diameter, a route number. Those are things that you might want to communicate. So, you know, I can see here, that's a 3 centimeter diameter route, and it's route number 3, tree 7 route number 3. So it's communicating information. Don't just put a photograph in for the sake of it. Does that make sense to everyone?
Yep.
Now, one of the things you might want to do is start adding some shapes in. And these are shapes here. And again, I will concede, having looked at the software that Peter's using, and it's, what's it called again, Peter?
It's Affinity, and the word processor is called Affinity Publisher. It's also got a drawing program called Affinity Designer that I use for working up plans and so forth. And
that is just heaps superior to what Word offers. And that's one that, Peter, I'm pretty tempted to go ahead and start using rather than Word for drawing. It really is appalling software for that purposes. So, yes.
If you do, just on that, Mark, if you do some work in the designer, the drawing program, you can save that as a PDF or a PNG or a JPEG, and then you can just treat it like any other file that you would put into your Word document.
Yes, you could, or you could just do that lazy little trick that I showed if you're using a Word function. And that's, whoops, I've got to move you guys from down the bottom a bit now. You're never going to be easy to, it's got to be some way of, oh, here it is, hide. Not going to be allow me to get it up, but yeah, there it is this little snippet tool. I've got it saved down the bottom, and it's one of the things that I use most commonly in reports, is just to take a picture, part of an image when I'm wanting to communicate something. And you can see here clearly, route 3, it's 7 centimeters in diameter, and it's nice and quick and easy, and I can just grab that out of an image anywhere. So I typically, if I'm going to crop, I'll crop pre-insertion as far as possible by just using snippet. And if you want to replace an image, there's a neat little trick with Word. So copy, I've copied it to my clipboard now. If I want to, I can just come down and say change image from clipboard, and there it is. It's just changed the image over. That's a neat little quick way of changing an image where you've got multiple images, you've looked at it and you thought, no, it's not quite what I want. Or if you've got your report set up as a template and you've got dummy images in there, so you've got 20 pictures of Shane down the page, you can just go in and replace each one as you go. So they'll save some time. So, okay, inserting images, inserting, shapes in images. Shapes in images are worthwhile because if you're looking at this here, I wanted to get the full width of the verge to show where the route exploration had found routes. They're marked with the little caps. So I want the full length, but they're hard to see. Who would agree that's hard to see on your screen? And you're at 170%. So being able to help the viewer figure out where they need to go into. And again, most documents nowadays, PDF or Word, you can zoom in, and you still get a reasonable quality image, and it lets you see a little bit easier where things are. So being able to have that when you're seeing it at that size, that's 100%, guys. It is a little hard to see. Yep, the yellow caps. The red lines, a lot easier to see. So how do you insert? Insert, shape, And let's just pick a shape. The arrow is pretty good, so we'll insert the arrow. I've got it set with a double head on it at the moment. I need to adjust that. So right click on it and I can format my shape. Now, one of the things I need to know is what the termination is going to be. So in this case, I've got that ability. Beginning type, I've got it set for a thing, but I just need a blunt end on it. There it is, set with a blunt end. So you can make all sort of adjustments in these arrows and the things that you insert. They're just a highly customized thing. Outline, turn it to yellow instead. There we are. And I can actually save that and set that as the default line. So I can say insert yellow first of all at that thickness. So that's 2.25 points. And my preference is for a larger size line that makes it easier to see. Remembering again, the function is communication. So there's just an amazing array of shapes that you can insert and you can manipulate. So let me do one on here. I'll insert one on here, insert, shape, and I'm going to insert the curved or circular shape. And there it is. Now I can match that down if I want. I would have been smart. Let me just go back to do that from the corner. If I do it from the corner, it will keep it a circle. Now, cameras don't take perfectly real images. That's pretty close to round because I'm almost straight above it. So I can actually outline that object however I like. Whoops, slightly out now. The things I might want to alter. Transparency. How transparent do I want it to be? I might want it to be 85% transparent. It should have been, but it's not. Don't ask me why. That's a wordism, isn't it? Oh, because I'm not on the outside line. I'm on the fill. Transparency on the fill. There's my line color. I need now in my fill, no fill. And I've lost the line altogether because I'm far too transparent. I can bring it back and there it is there. So you can adjust your transparency on the image. You can in your line. You can add textures to it. So you can put little dots to it. Let me do that in red so it'll be a little bit more contrasty. And go to 100%. So red, I can go red and select dots. And there I have a dotted line going around instead of a round line. I can have that shape altered to an oval shape if I want to highlight the measurement instead. And I can turn that and drag it across to the tape. And again, just highlight that particular item. And I can highlight the fact that it's 7 centimeters. So again, you can use these things to help communicate to the reader. And I know, Shane, you get reports that you read. You can turn your mic on because I'm going to ask you a question, put you on the spot. Do you ever get images where you're looking at the image and you're saying, I'm not sure what they're talking about? Or is it just me?
Probably only every second report that you see.
Yes.
I think one of the things that people need to realise is that look, it's becoming less frequent now, but we read a lot of reports that have been photocopied and usually photocopied in black and white. So you've got to think about the end user. I think as, and for those who don't know me, I work at a local council, so I lead a lot of development application reports, which is why I'm reading black and white photocopies. But yeah, one of the good things about moving into digitisation is that you can get better colour pictures, higher image. We can scroll in. So as Mark was showing before, you know, as a user of a report, we can scroll in and have a look at things. And so the clarity of the photograph is really important. Sorry, Mark, you were just trying to add something?
No, I was saying I find it amazing that you're still getting black and white photocopies. And I can tell you from the other side, as an arborist, I get from the developer or clients. Usually I get digital files, but the worst profession is the lawyers, and they scan everything. And I assume it's because they charge about $400 a page to scan. And so everything's scanned and not OCR'd, and I've got to go through, and every document I get from a lawyer has to be OCR'd, so that it makes it easier for me to search and find things. And so the time that I waste because they don't give me the document in a digital format that was already done in is amazing. You know, I think that trying to make your files as shareable as possible is desirable, so that, you know, a guy like you, Shane, can get the report and say, oh, I'm not so sure. I'd like to get in and look at that image there to see whether that looks like, oh, yep, okay, I see. It is a little bit under 7 there, but it's a little bit over here. So if you go from there to here, yeah, that's 7 centimeters. And not trust me. I want people to be able to verify the information. That's why you've got a photograph there, is to add that extra information. So that's again, some of the basics that you can do with a photograph, editing them out before you put them in, make sure that they communicate. So you'll notice all these images, which could have been in the body of the report, are all in an appendix. And so if you're not talking about the specific thing, so if you wanted to say something specifically about this route that was really critical, then you would say that in the body of the report, and that's where the image would go. Otherwise, it doesn't go into the body of the report. It goes into an appendix. And in the body of the report, you just indicate that that information's there. You don't need to have every picture up front. The reason why is you want to read the document and get stuff that's relevant. So the relevant thing for this was half a dozen images in the body of the report. There's one there, the impact of the fences. And that was just to indicate that posts had already gone in, and a brick wall was there. So replacing that fence with 2 posts probably wasn't going to have a big impact. We just got given the winding up in 10 minutes message. So we will be out of here in 5 minutes time. So again, don't overdo the things. One of the things that I do see in a report, and I'd be interested, Shane, because you do read them, and I'm glad that you're online, is when a client says, look, I want a report done, and the person does a image of the site and a Google Earth image to show you where, you know, does that help you? I usually figure that people know where they live, know what it looks like, but how does it affect the end reader of a report? I'm assuming, would normally go out and proof the site by going out and seeing something, or at least checking it on some imaging software.
Yeah, so we would undertake our own site visit. Yeah, look, I like brevity in a report. After reading lots of reports, and my favourite example is a tree protection management plan report, which had 117 pages, and 1/3 of one page actually talked about tree protection for the site. Your report's answering a question. You know, the reason for your report is set out at the start on page 1 or page 2. You're answering that question. You don't need any information that's not relevant to that question. And so when, as the user, you know, it doesn't change the decisions we're making. But if I can read a 2-page report that has all the information I need, I prefer to read that than a 15 or a 16 or a 75-page report, where I've got to read it 3 times to find the piece of information I'm looking for. You know, don't add stuff just for the sake of adding stuff.
Yeah,
it's my take-home message to anybody who's writing a report.
So my sentiments shared on that, Shane, and my comment there is, if it's not core to it, put it in the appendix. If Shane wants to see it, he can. He can go look at it. But if it's not communicating directly to the paragraph you are writing, or the paragraph above or below, then it doesn't go into the report. Same with your tables, or your data that you collect. It's all at the end. If Shane wants to go look at it there, he will. If he wants to go look at it at the site, he will. And it's the same, I'm assuming, with most tree management officers. There'll be occasions where adding something in up front will help, but in most cases, it's just padding. And this is here just so that somebody can check or proof what I've said. It's not going to really be any different than what I've said upstairs. And what will happen is people will get to know who you are and what you like. And over time, if you write a reliable report and a consistent report, most stuff at the bottom they're not going to look at. And so you've just saved Shane 5 or 10 or 15 minutes of reading by putting that at the end. It's there for those that don't know you or who think that you might be crazy, or whatever it might be. So those are the times when you add it in. Guys, we're at our time. I will see you next block round. Is there something that people would like to look at for next block? You've got a couple of minutes to let me know.
No, we're happy to take your guidance, I think, Mark.
Okay, well, we've got a few topics there. Peter's already sent some out. And if you've got something you want to talk about or something that you want me to go over, then just please email Peter.
Yep.
Peter's the man that makes sure that it all happens. He hammers me and nails me every day saying what's happening and where we're at. We can tell you that we've had the first 3 videos being edited. We're just not as happy as we'd like to be with some of the work. So we've just asked him to do a few tweaks, and then that'll be made available sometime the next, I'm assuming, week or so, Peter?
Yep, it shouldn't take too long to get it out there. I would like to get it up on the Arboriculture Australia website so that people can go there and look at it. But if anybody wants to send me a message, send me an email, I'll make sure that you can get access to them as well.
And yeah, again, they're there as a resource for you to go back and look at, say what happened, how did you do it, or what was said. There's no problems with using it however you feel appropriate. And, you know, Shane, when you get an overly long report, you might want to send someone to have a look at June's War. Because I have to say the worst report I can ever remember reading was about 57 pages on a Eucalyptus scoparia in a high use area, and it just, we'll have a look at it at some stage or other. I've got to de-edit some of the bits just so it's not obvious. But again, there were other things wrong with that report, and it was just painful. You know, it could have been said in a page, and it would have been just as effective and got the same end outcome. So guys, I'll see you next month. It's the last Monday of the month at 6:30 every month. We've picked a regular time frame now. So Peter will send you out the invite sometime the next few days. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Thanks, Mark.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
See you guys.
Bye.